Pump up the volume on your parenting with Parent Pump Radio. Tune into something different that makes a difference. At Parent Pump Radio, instead of a ripple, we choose to create a splash. Get energized, get inspired, and get informed with how to parent in the new millennium. With your host and parent coach super guide, Jacqueline T.D. Huynh.
Hi, this is Jacqueline T.D. Huynh. We're here to pump up your parenting skills, pump up your knowledge, pump up your energy. Welcome to Parent Pump Radio. Our show is all about dynamic family leadership and leaving a profound legacy for our children. This year, we've added family financial freedom as a major topic. We want to help families learn, act, and implement strategies to become financially free. Our show is available on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, and Stitcher, and syndicated on rethinkradio.org and oneideaaway.com, also on Armed Radio. Okay, so on to our show. We have been talking about passive income by investing in real estate. Our guest today has been on the show before. He is a self-made freedom lifestyle entrepreneur, seasoned investor, and international speaker. Been investing in real estate for almost 30 years, has been involved in several other entrepreneurial ventures. He is a regular contributor in the media with his extensive background in business, entrepreneurship, and real estate. So ladies and gentlemen, with no further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Mike Wolf. Hi, Mike.
Hello there. How are you?
I am awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I know it was a last minute thing that I reached out to you.
Oh, thanks for having me back. And I can talk real estate anytime, all day long. So it's all good.
Yes. Mike is really passionate about helping people successfully invest in real estate and creating that money while you're sleeping. Today, I asked him to come back on the show because there's many ways to invest in real estate. And Mike specializes in helping people be successful in buying single family homes. And want Mike to talk about why it's better to invest in single family home, what's the advantage of that as opposed to, say, multi-unit or syndication. So Mike, what's your thought on that?
Well, where do I start? So first of all, I've done single family, I've done multifamily, and I'm not putting down multifamily investing. It's certainly good. However, there's certain advantages to investing in single family for most people. Now, if you're investing in multifamily, typically you're creating a job for yourself because there's a lot of moving parts. And so, first of all, I want to distinguish between different types of multifamilies. And so there's obviously, duplexes, fourplexes, sixplexes, eightplexes. That's a whole different animal than buying, a 100-unit apartment building. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about both of those things and my experience with them, and why after all these years, 30 years of investing, why even though I've tried those, I've gone back to the single family world, and why I continue to do the single family. And for most people, I recommend that. And so as I mentioned, obviously the duplexes, threeplexes, fourplexes, all those things, that is a very different type of investment than a 100-unit plus apartment building. And so typically when you look at most cities that have those, sixplexes, eightplexes, etc., they tend to be in less desirable neighborhoods. So number one, what I found investing in those is they don't appreciate as well. One, because they're usually in less desirable neighborhoods, and two, when you go to sell that property, who are you selling to? You're selling to another investor. And what are investors looking for? They're looking for good numbers, a good deal. That's what they want to buy. What has made me the most money over the years is buying homes on using my business sense, buying them, getting a good deal. Maybe they're in a distressed, there's a distressed homeowner there, they're in foreclosure, and then selling them to somebody who's buying for emotional reasons. Because now I bought it for business sense. It was a good deal. I might have had to fix it up. I might have had to make it aesthetically pleasing, but that end buyer is going to pay a premium because now it smells, you put the cookies in the oven, and it's got the right countertops, and it's got the right color scheme. It's decorated nicely. People will pay a premium for that. Investors are not going to pay a premium typically they're looking for a deal. And so that's one of the things. Also, what I found with those smaller multifamily projects is that everybody, because they're so close in proximity to each other, the neighbors almost never get along. There's at least one neighbor that's a troublemaker that you wish you could get rid of, but that person won't leave. And then you have some other people that are nice tenants that you wish you could keep, but they all move because that person's selling drugs or is a prostitute or who knows what they're doing. But in any case, when you're in those smaller multifamily projects, it seems like everybody knows everybody else's business, and you really become a babysitter. And it's a full-time job, and it becomes musical tenants where people are moving. They're moving out, they're moving in, the property gets damaged all the time. You're always fixing stuff up. I won't touch those smaller projects at all personally. And I can tell you that I hang out with a lot of my friends are real estate investors, and most of them have had the exact same experiences. So if you haven't done that before, be very, very careful where you're buying, what you're buying. Find out why that person is selling. Quite often it's because they're not getting the numbers they expected. And then ironically, when you get to the big apartment buildings with lots and lots of units, ironically, everybody's anonymous there. So you don't have those same issues. But when you're buying the big apartment buildings, you're really buying a business. And you ever notice that some people have a knack, let's say, for restaurants, and every time they open up a restaurant, it just turns to gold, makes lots and lots of money.
Yeah.
And yet we see other restaurants, exact same business, and we see other people who don't have the same experience, and the restaurants are always changing hands and changing owners, and it's a different restaurant, every few months. And so unless you have a knack for that business, you have experience doing it, that's not how you want to start. You definitely want to cut your teeth on single family deals, get used to working with teams, get used to people not showing up, contractors not showing up, stuff like that. But get used to that on a much smaller scale, because when you have those big buildings, they can be big money makers if you do it right, but the vast majority of people do not do well with them. The vast majority of people are not successful, and the vast majority of people can't even afford to get into that game to begin with. So one of the challenges you're going to have is even just getting financing for it. When you get to those apartment buildings, the banks, they don't really care as much about your credit. They care more about the deal itself, but they also care about your experience doing it, because they, just like that example I gave you about restaurants, they know that some people are going to take that apartment building and be successful with it, make lots of money. Those are the people they want to lend to, who have a track record. And if you're the person who's never done it before and you're going to test the waters using a bank's money, good luck. They're not going to loan to you. So you're probably going to need a partner who has been involved in that sort of thing before. And like I said, I would much rather cut my teeth on small deals, single family homes, where if something goes wrong, if I get a repair bill for a roof on a single family home, it's something I can afford. If something goes wrong on a huge multi-family deal, that can cost tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars to remedy. If you're not prepared for that, so that's some of the issues. Then on top of that, like I said, when you go to sell, once again, you can't sell one unit. You got to sell the entire building. So let's say my daughter wanted to get married, and let's say I didn't have enough money in the bank. I could go sell one of my single family homes. If I have an apartment building, I got to sell the whole thing, and all your eggs are in one basket. So not only do you have to sell the whole thing, but if something bad happens to that neighborhood, let's say they decide to build a freeway behind your apartment building, all of a sudden the values go down and all your eggs are in that same basket. So these are some things you want to keep in mind. The other thing, as somebody who's really into passive income, that I really don't like working very hard anymore. And with apartment buildings, I was never able to make it really passive. I was never able to build like a full team around it where I didn't have to get involved. The decisions with those are typically quite large. The things that go wrong are big. With single family homes, I can delegate to my property management team and tell them, don't even call me unless something really major goes wrong. If a tenant doesn't pay his rent on time, I don't need to get a phone call for that. If it needs a minor repair, an appliance breaks, I don't need a phone call for that. With apartment buildings, I found that I could never fully step away from it. It always felt somewhat like a job, and the money never was fully passive. There's always something coming up, and so I'm not in any way criticizing multifamily. If you're looking to create a job for yourself and you find that exciting, and you're willing to work with somebody to get the experience so you can get the financing, or if you have a lot of money in your bank, great, you can try it. But I've had much better success in the single family world, and just when you start to have a lot of single family properties, if something goes vacant, for example, you have all the same advantages of a multifamily, just you can be more spread out. I'm in a whole bunch of different markets, So if a market's slumping, I've also got markets that are booming at the same time that are making up for it. And so you can have more diversity. Those are some of the things that you want to keep in mind. And once again, I have friends that make money in just about every aspect of real estate you can imagine, but none of them have the lifestyle that I've got. As you know, I like to travel.
Yes.
And I do a lot of volunteering. I spend time with my grandkids. If I own multifamilies, I don't think I would have that same lifestyle that I have right now.
Obviously, if there's someone that's new into investing, they're most likely not going to be able to start a syndication themselves. But if they're considering, hey, if I had $50,000, could I invest it in a syndication with someone that's running that program, or should I invest it in, say, a multi-unit building, getting a loan, or getting a single family? What would you say to that person?
Right now, I'm very bullish on the Atlanta market. I sell turnkey properties, and they start at $70,000 for a single family home. When we look at markets that, in my opinion, are undervalued, that's why I like Atlanta. In my opinion, that market, to me, it's like crazy that there's a such thing. In the year 2019 is a single family home for $70,000. That's like somebody saying, oh, a gallon of gas is 18 cents now.
Right.
It's incomprehensible to me. To me, that's why I would invest in. When you invest in syndications or you invest in, funds, REITs, all these different ways you could potentially, quote unquote, own real estate, you get some of the benefits of investing in real estate, but you don't get some of the biggest ones. So for example, if you own a piece of real estate with your name on it, if you own a single family home, for example, and you've got title to it, well, guess what? You get to depreciate it against your taxes. So when we look at the richest people on the planet, we look at Warren Buffett, for example. He doesn't need the cash flow that most people who buy real estate need. And he doesn't even care about the appreciation. He invests in real estate, like a lot of billionaires, to bring down his taxable income from what he earns in his other businesses. I don't reinvent the wheel. I look at what the richest people who can afford the smartest, brightest and best lawyers, brightest and best accountants, I look at what they're doing, and I follow suit and I copy. And if I own real estate, I can bring down my taxable income and pay less tax than people that make that go to their 9-to-5 job and make they're the ones that pay most of the taxes. The people in the middle class are paying all the taxes for the most part. The richest people are paying as a percentage. Warren Buffett openly admits he pays less tax as a percentage than his assistant does. And I don't know how much his assistant makes, but I'm pretty sure his assistant isn't a billionaire. He is, and he's paying less tax, and he can bring it down almost to zero because of the real estate that he owns. So that's number one. When you invest in a REIT or a syndication or any of these other ways to invest, if you don't have title to the home, you're not getting some of the biggest benefits. Second of all, you don't have any control. When you own something, your name's on it, you can decide when you want to sell it, you decide if you want to rent it, you get total control of the situation. Whereas if you're investing in somebody else's thing, you have no control. They're acting on your behalf. They're not always acting in your best interest. And if you read the fine print and what they give you, you'll see that quite often you're paying a lot of fees for things such as their marketing. When they invite people for nice dinners at these fancy hotels and put on these seminars to attract other investors, they're using your money to attract other investors to their funds.
Yeah.
I know of so many examples of these funds that have gone bankrupt because they were so top heavy in fees. They had fees, acquisition fees and marketing fees and disposition fees and management fees. There's so many fees. And the owners at the top of the food chain, they made off like bandits, but the people who invested in it, the fund actually went bankrupt. Even though the property still had value, the funds actually went bankrupt. So you got to be really, really careful how you're investing, and nobody cares more about your money than you do. So to me, I want to have control whenever I invest. People invest in those things because they don't have the expertise, and that's why turnkey properties, for example, are a really good option for people, because you can have an expert like myself who knows how to pick the right neighborhoods, knows how to pick the right markets, knows how to build the right teams, pick the right tenants. All these things that you would have to learn are done for you. And you basically, when you put your money in, not only do you get title, not only do you have control, but you have somebody basically helping you and mentoring you all along the way, so you don't have to become the expert. And so that's exactly why I do what I do and why I've created what I've created. I've been doing this for almost 30 years, like I mentioned. When I first started, I was in my mid-20s. I didn't know the first thing about real estate. Nobody wanted to give me the time of day. And so I had to go make a whole bunch of mistakes and learn the hard way, trial and error, losing a lot of money. But I was young enough that I could rebuild, and also I didn't really have any plan B, so I had no choice. But yeah, you have to be really careful how you invest, and also realize that when you invest in somebody else's company that's investing in real estate, you don't actually own real estate. You own a share in somebody's company.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And you're at the mercy of how well they run or don't run that company, and so you just have to be super careful.
Yeah, you made a good point, right? Like most people who are new to investing or maybe beginners to intermediate, they're having to do all themselves. And so investing in a single family, they would have to do the research, they're going to have to manage it, they have to make sure that the tenants are good tenants. Whereas putting that money into a syndication where you've got someone who says they're going to do everything, I just need your $100,000 or $50,000, and then we'll just give you your dividend, sounds a little bit more enticing than having to do all that. But I think when we have someone like you who is offering kind of the same thing as someone in syndication, where you're going to walk with them, hold their hands, find the property, manage it, it's a turnkey program, it seems like more of a no-brainer that is better.
Well, the single biggest advantage is you have control. So I'm there to mentor you, but you get to decide if you want to sell it. I tell you when to get in. I also give you advice on when to get out, but you're not obligated to sell that property. One of the things that I do differently is I don't, even though I'm currently really bullish on Atlanta, and that's where I sell turnkey properties, I don't live in Atlanta. I don't vacation in Atlanta. I didn't pick it because it's convenient for me. I didn't pick it because I have some emotional attachment to it. I picked it because that's where, in my opinion, the best numbers are. There's going to be a point in time where Atlanta doesn't make sense anymore, and I'm going to move my operation, build a new operation wherever it makes the most sense at that time. And so, prior to investing in Atlanta, I was very heavily invested in Phoenix. And when I sold my properties in Phoenix, not only did I make a lot of money, not only did my clients make a lot of money, but for every property we sold in Phoenix, we could buy 2 in Atlanta.
Wow.
And so literally, we could double our portfolios without having to take any money out of our pockets. And so I'm here to really give you my best advice. Unlike investing in somebody else's fund, where you're at the mercy of what they want to do, you don't get any say. You don't get to call them up, say, I don't really think we should sell now, or I don't think we should buy. You don't have any say. And like I said, there's all these ridiculous fees. So to me, it's just a no-brainer. And I know a lot of people, they don't, they don't read the prospectus and the information that they get. They don't even know what that money is going towards. They don't realize that. They think it's all invested in property. All those fees just really add up. And every day I read about some fund that goes belly up. And I know the real estate in there doesn't go to zero, and all these people lose all their money. So there's something wrong with that. And so I just want people to really be aware of what they're investing in. Do your research. Whether you invest with me or not, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
Do your research, and however you decide to go ahead, do your homework. Make sure that what you're investing in is a good fit for you, and that you're getting all the benefits of real estate ownership, because that's why we do real estate over stocks and bonds and all these other things that are available. Some of the benefits you don't get anywhere else, but most people don't even know about these benefits. So make sure you have somebody on your team who's guiding you, telling you what you're entitled to, and steering you in the right direction.
Yeah, you made a good point earlier that, Warren Buffett, he's not looking for appreciation. He's not looking for cash flow. He's looking for write-offs. Right?
He wants to keep the money that he earns in his pocket instead of giving it to the government. What better way to do it than own real estate and get the extra cash flow, get that appreciation, even though he doesn't need it. Most importantly, he has to hold on to his money. But for people like you and me that don't have billions of dollars, if we can get that cash flow every month and eventually build up enough cash flow that we don't have to trade our time for money anymore, Warren Buffett's already there if that's what he wanted. He keeps very busy. But for those of us who don't want to necessarily be that busy, want to hang out with our grandkids and travel and give back, we need that cash flow. And that appreciation comes in handy because it allows us to buy more properties, keep building that portfolio. But it's a super nice benefit to pay a lot less tax legally than your friends doing that 9-to-5 job. And so it's just, to me, it's just such a no-brainer to invest in real estate, but to do it properly.
Yeah. So you can't do a tax write-off if you're in a syndication?
You don't actually own the real estate. So you have to actually own the real estate, whether it's you or your corporation. But if you don't own the real estate, you can't write it off. And I should point out, by the way, disclaimer, I'm not an accountant.
Right.
Lawyer, so please confirm with your lawyer and accountant.
Right, exactly. What's the difference that you think of you have found when it comes to cash flow from like single family to multi-units to massive apartment buildings?
Well, it all depends on the numbers. Every building is going to be different. Every single family home is different. The biggest challenge you have is, like I said, with the multifamily, the benefit is everything's under one roof, and so it's easier to collect. The disadvantage is everything's under one roof, so it could be feast or famine. If everything's going well and all your units are filled and all the rent's coming in, great. But like I said, if they decide to build a freeway behind your apartment building, everybody wants to move somewhere quieter, everything happens at once. If something breaks down in a big multi-family project, that could eat up a whole lot of cash flow for a long, long time if you're replacing some of the expensive components that go wrong. Whereas a single-family home, if you buy newer homes, which is what I do, what I recommend, you're still going to get things breaking down every now and then. There's no doubt about it. But if you're buying newer homes and they're in good shape when you buy them, by the way, I put a 1-year warranty on the homes, and mine are all 1995 and newer. When you're buying that sort of thing, you're less likely to have your cash flow all disappear to repairs and things like that. And also, apartment buildings, one of the things you want to do, if to attract more tenants, is you want to start renovating the units. Well, that costs a lot of money, so it takes a while before you recoup that. So lots of things you have to think about, before you get in. But absolutely, if you get the right apartment building in the right place and luck goes your way, you can have great cash flow.
Yeah.
But you can also get great cash flow from having a whole bunch of single family homes, and not necessarily in the same markets. You can be in a whole bunch of different markets, a whole bunch of different neighborhoods, and that way, if a few go vacant, well, that's always going to happen. There's going to be a certain amount of vacancy no matter what. For me, I'm very geographically diverse. There's a massive layoffs in one of the cities that I'm invested in, and the rent were to go down or the vacancy rates were to go up. Well, I'm protected because my stuff, like I said, is all over North America. And so there's pluses and minuses. I'm not saying everything's all rosy. If you do single family, everything's
exactly.
all perfect, and multi's all crap. It's not like that at all. There's certainly some very lucrative multifamily projects, but most people don't sell something very lucrative unless they're asking top dollar for it. Whereas I like to buy stuff that's distressed. And if I were buying a distressed 100-unit apartment building, it's going to need a lot of money to get that up to speed where we can keep those units rented and get top rent. So there's just a lot of different factors you have to look at. And for me, it's just very easy to have a bunch of single family homes, have other people look after them, not using up my time to deal with it. And so to me, that's the biggest resource I've got is my time. I like to use it really wisely. And like I said, whenever I was in the apartment building world, it seemed like I was always busy with my building, whether I wanted to or not. It was inevitable, it seemed.
Let's talk about loans, because if it's a $70,000 home, which is your home, and it sounds like great homes, 1995, you're guaranteeing it for a year. Can you get a loan, a regular conventional loan for something like that? And how much down payment someone needs to get into something like that?
Yeah, so yes, you can get loans for it, and our lender can get in with as little as 15% down. That's 15. You don't need a whole ton of money to get started, and they cash flow nicely. And most importantly, though, you're in the path of progress, where to me that market is way undervalued. There's Atlanta's always been great for job creation. It's head office to Coca-Cola, Home Depot, Turner Broadcasting, Delta Airlines. List goes on and on. But not only is it head office, a whole bunch of companies are very diverse, meaning that if we look at Detroit, obviously when the automotive industry was flying high, so was the real estate. And unfortunately, the automotive industry is never going to be the same again. Now we're looking at self-driving cars, self-flying cars. The future of cars is Apple and Uber, not Chrysler or Ford and GM, unfortunately. And so when we see a city that's all very much built around one industry, once again, all your eggs are in one basket. When that industry is doing well, you're doing well. When that industry is in a slump, so are you with your real estate. And so Coca-Cola, if they were to close their doors tomorrow, which I strongly doubt is going to happen, well, there's a whole bunch of other industries and companies that will pick up the slack. And one of the things I love about Georgia in general is they're very business friendly, which is why there's so many head offices there. They realize that, hey, if we give these big corporations tax incentives to move their offices here, they're going to hire a whole bunch of people, and we'll tax all these people. But as long as there's jobs being created, people will move to the city. And when people move to the city, that obviously puts upward pressure on the real estate, and that causes appreciation. And so you want to be in that market. Before you're reading the headlines that Atlanta's booming, you already want to be invested in that market, because otherwise you're going to feed into the frenzy, and you'll be buying homes at a really high premium. So you want to get them while they're inexpensive, ride that wave up, collect rent all along the way, and have that passive income while you're waiting for that market to do its thing. And when everybody starts fighting over properties, then you sell, take that money, use a 1031 exchange, and take all your money and rinse and repeat in another market that's lagging behind and ride it up. And that's what makes me a lot different is if you go to your typical turnkey operator, they're still going to be operating in that market when it's booming. They're going to operate in that market when it's slumping. That's close to home for them, so they stay put. And how you really get strategic and get more properties and make more money and get awesome lifestyle is to be ahead of the curve, be moving to those markets before everybody else does, get in and get out at the right time. And that's what I'm here to help people do.
I want to mention that you said that your property's cash flow. So right away, people are starting to make money. They're not having to put more money in if they buy a property with you.
Yeah, so by the time somebody buys a property from me, the home's already been fixed. It's already been tenanted. There's my property management team already collecting rent from that tenant. And as soon as you buy it, that rent now goes into your pocket. And you start getting cash flow right from day one. Like I said, you don't need a whole ton of money to get in. And I'm there you get my mentorship for free if you want it. Not everybody wants to hear from me every day.
You have great video tutorials on YouTube and your website.
I put a lot of information out there, but I'm always there to help people because I can talk about real estate all day long, as I mentioned. And it's still my passion after 30 years. I still love it. It's been extremely good to me. For me, I can't imagine doing anything else.
Well, thank you so much, Mike, for getting on last minute and doing this with me.
My pleasure.
And listeners, connect with him. Tell him you heard him on Parent Pump Radio. And any last word, Mike?
Whether you do it through me, whether you do it through someone else, get in the game, get into real estate. It'll create that passive income, and it'll change your life. And you can have the life of your dreams if you do it properly. So. Yep.
And Warren Buffett said, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work until the day you die.
That's true.
Okay. Thank you, listeners. Until next time, keep on growing and keep on learning.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Go to parentpumpradio.com and click on the pink box on the top of our homepage to listen to our new and archived shows. To be instantly notified of new episodes, subscribe to our RSS feed. The RSS feed button is located at the top of the page where all our shows are featured. And after listening to the show, go to parentpumpradio.com or our Facebook page to leave your comments, questions, and topic suggestions. Until next time, have a wonderful week.